What is up, most distinguished patrons of this channel? Today we are going to talk about some Christmas gift ideas for welders and just some ideas for tools and things you probably want, and it doesn't matter if it's Christmas time or not. Just treat yourself to something you're going to see in this video. So let's get into it. So I get it, guys. We all don't have huge budgets and oftentimes have dry wallets. And you might not have a whole lot of money. So that's why in this video, I'm going to do a pretty good balance of some cheap stuff that you probably don't have that you would like, that could save you a lot of time in your metal fabrication hobbies and stuff. And I'm also going to share some mid to high price stuff that can make a difference for your actual ability to make stuff, such as like welding machines, okay? So we're going to have a pretty good gamut of suggestions. Now, this video is not sponsored. All the company's products in this, I was not provided. Okay, I bought them with my own money, and I don't really care what you buy, and I don't do affiliate links or anything, so I'm going to make exactly zero off of suggesting anything in this. So take it from me. These are stuff that I use and I like, and I think it'll make a difference for you, so you can at least trust me. But then again, you probably shouldn't trust anyone on the internet anyways, so take it for what it is. So with that said, let's look at some game-changing stuff that will help you in your home shop that I particularly love. And it's all going to be under, I don't know, we'll say $100 for this stuff. So right off the bat, if you're looking to give a gift to someone who's a welder or fabricator, one of the things you can't go wrong with is steel. If you know what they're welding on, or they have projects, or they're just trying to learn to weld, having materials to work with is huge, because you can't get good at something without the ability to practice. Much like if you're an artist and you don't have paint, canvas, or brushes, how do you get better at painting? You don't. So raw materials are always a good thing to consider buying for someone, and if in doubt, ask them what they would need. And if you're buying for yourself, you know what you need, go and get some. You can't replace practice and skill development. Now, with that said, there's a couple tools that I got here on the table that are general use that you can't go wrong with. So the first tool on the list is a SATA file set. This I've used for a number of years. I apologize for the filth level on it. These things have been used and abused. And for the money, I find that I really like them. And a simple file set like this is invaluable. Almost every day I use something in here, especially. It comes with little diamond files. These things are awesome for cleaning torch tips off, or just doing precise little polishing work. And then it has a triangle file, round files, square files, flat files, and bastard files or whatever. They have decent grips that aren't too bad. I generally prefer wood handled, to be honest, but these things have held up pretty good. And for the money, I think this is a great set. And if you have this in your toolbox or one similar to this, this is a huge benefit to you. I'm telling you, this is every day I use this set. So highly recommend this one in particular. Now, speaking of files, another file you should absolutely have if you're in welding is a all metal file like this. So number one thing that's different about this is it doesn't have a plastic handle that will melt off. You can use the back side of this to tap off slag off of a 7018 weld. The ones that have a square end that are designed to go in a handle like these, that also works. But I'm telling you, this is a very, very handy thing to have. Definitely invest in a file set, and probably at minimum something like this. You can't go wrong. Moving on, you can't go wrong with LED lights. This is a Milwaukee light. I believe this is fairly new. It's pretty trick in the sense that it swivels, it has a magnetic base, and you can also split the magnetic base and hook it on something that is not magnetic, like a 2x4, and let it hang. Now, I have no idea about the reliability of this because I haven't owned it but for maybe a month or two, but it seems to be holding up pretty good, as multiple modes. The battery life is pretty good. I would highly recommend investing in a decent flashlight for someone or for yourself. And speaking of decent flashlights, I picked up this a couple weeks ago and have been using it. It's an Olight mini flashlight. This is kind of the trick one. They all kind of cost the same, but I like the design of this. And it's a super small flashlight, and it has multiple brightness modes on it. So you have low, super bright, like it's actually pretty bright. The cool thing is, oh, let me turn that off. It has a magnet on the bottom that's pretty strong. So you can put it somewhere, especially if you're working on metal, and it'll hold it there and you can see what the hell you're doing. So I find this, the little mini flashlights like this, especially the clip, very handy to have. The cooler part is this case functions as a battery pack. It gives a percentage of how charged it is, which this is 100% charged, and it charges via a standard USB cord that you already have, which is really convenient. You can even use it in the package while it's charging, so if it's dead and you need light. And my understanding is the battery life of this sucker is exceptionally good, especially when you can recharge it pretty quick. And I really like the design of this, very handy thing to have. Now, my experience with flashlights is I really like the Nightcore brand of flashlights. They're available on Amazon. I would highly recommend looking at one of those. They're unbelievably bright, have great battery life, and they just last. So if you're looking for a really good flashlight, look at those as well. So on to more tool-related stuff. This is a Fire Max Press, I believe it's called, clamp. This is considered the F series, and this is an F30 30-centimeter long bar. I did a whole video on these, and I've been using them for the past, I don't know, 6-8 months, somewhere in there, and these suckers are a game changer. And I know you're probably thinking to yourself, well, it's just a welding clamp, right? And that's where you're wrong. These things use a piston that moves in and out, and it does not swivel. It does not have a swivel base pad. That is unbelievably cool because you can clamp all sorts of weird things in a jaw like tube and pipe and oddball stuff and put a tremendous pressure on it, and it doesn't just blast out of here once you get it tight. And I'm telling you, anything that I use these on, it's almost a joy to use because unlike the standard welding clamp, the F-style clamp where it pivots on that pad, these just, they clamp the things and you can get a ton of clamping pressure. Even if you're into woodworking or something, I'm telling you, these things are just nice to use. They're a little heavy, which kind of sucks, but hey, I'd rather have something a little heavy that isn't gonna let whatever's in the jaw blast out of there and, you know, halfway across the room. So highly recommend these. They come in assorted sizes. The jaw width dictates the size, like they have an R series, an F series. Get one that you feel is appropriate jaw width for what you're doing. I have both this one and I believe this is an F series, and I have an R series. And I use them anytime I can, and I have no regrets. I almost don't use the other welding clamps, the old school F clamps anymore. They're so good. Let's talk about some more affordable hand tool related stuff. So the first thing on the list, if you're a welder or you work with your hands, you need some decent gloves. And my personal opinion is the best gloves on the market are made by Tillman. And for TIG welding, the 24C2XL, or really any of their TIG welding gloves, are literally the industry standard and the best of the best. I also like their stick and MIG gloves. You can't go wrong by Tillman. Now, they are a little bit more expensive. They're typically 20 to 50% more than maybe something at Harbor Freight, but they tend to fit better. Now, if you're more on a budget or you don't know for sure what to get and you don't want to waste money, Harbor Freight's gloves actually aren't that bad for welding. I have numerous pairs and I do buy them from time to time, and they don't quite fit as good as these, but they're not bad and they're about half or a third of the price, so that's a great option. A hand tool that you really need is something like this channel lock adjustable nut lathe here. A lot of guys don't like these because, well, guess what? They can be crap, especially, I'll tell you what, you buy a cheap one of these and yeah, you're going to round off every fastener and you put it in or bust your knuckles to the point that you need a hospital visit. What I've found over the years is that if you get a legitimate one like this channel lock or a more legitimate brand where they're actually like precision machined and they don't have a ton of slop in the worm gear, these actually work really good. And this is one of my personal favorites. I have the comfort grip option on this. This is a 8WCB 8-inch. And I'll tell you what, the comfort grip when you got arthritis due to old age and stupidity like I do, this is a great tool to just be able to tighten stuff without looking around for sockets and box wrenches. Now, no, these aren't an absolute replacement for that, but you'd be surprised at how beneficial it is to have one of these, especially this particular one, because look how wide you can take that. I really actually find a lot of use for this in general purpose fabrication. I've used this for anything from bending stuff to tightening nuts down to replacing hot water heaters. So it pays to have a tool like this. And if you're going to invest the money, buy one that's at least halfway decent. Get a legitimate brand. Channel lock's pretty good. Speaking of random tools to have, you may have never seen this. This is called a deburr tool. It has like some form of a carbide like edge, knife edge here. And what you can do with it is you put it in anything from PVC to steel tube, and even on straight plates, and I'm not going to do it, but on something like this, you can bring it right down the edge and it knocks that sharp edge off to where you can handle steel plates or tube and not cut yourself. These are often sold in the plumbing section of your local hardware store, but those generally tend to be pretty cheap. Buy a decent one. Amazon has a ton of these. And this one in particular is pretty decent. It's got a nice bit retention. It comes with extra bits. They're pretty sharp. If you work around metal, you're going to need one of these because I'm telling you, it's a pain to use an angle grinder to cut and break every edge on anything that's sharp. This works so much faster. They're pretty reliable and it's pretty cheap. Get one. Speaking of fairly cheap tools, a square. I can't overstate how if you want to fabricate anything, even in woodworking, you need to be able to understand and verify what a 90-degree corner is, be it an inside or outside, what a 45-degree angle is, and this is one of the great tools that helps you do that. If you do not own one of these, you need one. So not only does it have a level, it has a scribe to where you can scribe on wood or metal lines using this. What I like about this, and it's an Empire, it's made by Empire, it has a spring in here to where you can loosen this nut, adjust the ruler to wherever you want it, and it's not loose. It doesn't just fall out of here. I didn't realize how much of a great idea that was until I bought one of these and started using it, and I'm like, man, that's really nice. You can not worry about it falling out, but you can easily adjust it. Great tool to have. You need one of these, and it's affordable. Speaking of affordable tools, brushes. If you stick weld, hell, even if you TIG weld, you need some good brushes. My recommendation is spend the money, get stainless bristles on your brush because it won't leave basically steel dust on anything and contaminate it. If you're working with stainless or aluminum, you really need a stainless brush. They tend to last pretty long and they're cheap and affordable. And I'm telling you, this will clean the slag off your weld or polish the oxide off your TIG weld really good. My personal favorite brush, it is the Ferd, that's spelled P-F-E-R-D 85010. It is what's known as a fillet weld brush. The bristles, rather than being in line and square, come to a point. This allows you to put a tremendous amount of pressure in a small area, and when you rake it, it will clean the toes of welds, even TIG welds super fine in an inside corner. Because when you cram this down, it's so hard to get these to kind of go where you want them. This is already pre-set up. If you don't have one of these, I'm telling you, out of anything in this video, if you weld, buy one of these. It is life-changing. You will never go back to a brush like this. I promise you that. Now, this is related to welding. It's related to auto mechanics. It's related to a lot of things. You need to get yourself or someone else a big, heavy-duty pick like this. Now, this is a Snap-on. I'm not a huge fan of Snap-on tools because I think it's kind of bullshit that I got to go and find a truck somewhere because they don't come to where I work really. in order to buy one of these, and maybe you can buy them online, but if a tool's that good and I can't get access to buying it easily, I'm generally against it. But I'm telling you, this particular tool is a game changer. I personally use this pick to rake the toes of welds, to clean slag or just material out, and it is super heavy duty. I've seen a lot of the tool trucks versions of this, and this is by far the beefiest one out of all of them, and it seems to last. I've been using this for better than 6 months, and it basically has no wear, very heavy duty. But to pick at something like what's in this crack, very, very handy, very durable. You can use this to pull radiator hoses off, any number of things, but you'd be surprised at how much you would actually use this if you had one. Now, I'm sure Snap-on doesn't make this. If you guys know who makes this and if there's a cheaper alternative, then put it in the comments, but get a big, heavy-duty pick like this. This video wouldn't be complete without a selection of BFHs and BFPs, so that's what we have in front of us right now. And my go-to hammer, and I recommend this to anyone that's ever looking for a reliable, solid, best of the best BFH, is this Wilton Bash hammer. Now this particular one is the heavier version. They come in 12 and I think 16-inch handles. This is not only unbreakable, but I'm telling you, if you need something to get unstuck, this is the tool for you. I have beat the daylights out of ball joints to engine blocks to anything with this, and it has, other than the paint wearing off, no real wear to it. 100% recommend. If you don't have one of these, get one of them. Now they do make ball peen hammers. This guy I bought recently, I haven't used a whole lot. I like the balance of it. Now I did hear people were saying that the face on this is not as hard as like some of the ball peen hammers out there, and I don't really see many marks on it, and I've been hitting some decent stuff with it, so I can't really vouch for that. But hey, if in doubt on anything in this video, look up the Amazon reviews. They're probably pretty accurate as far as what's decent and what's not. But at a minimum, buy this. But if you want to buy a set, they do make a set where it comes with this guy, something like this, and another hammer as well. You can't go wrong with them. Now for other hammers, this, which is a Mac Tools branded, which for those of you who don't know is Stanley Proto, you can buy this exact hammer, which this is a 48 ounce, via Stanley, or well, it's branded Proto, on Amazon.com for a lot less than a Mac Tools truck. And this also falls under what I would consider a game changer. This is a little bit different of a design than this. It has a longer handle. It can put a tremendous amount of force to get something unstuck. It has the ball end, which is handy for certain things. The nice thing with this is you can give something one hell of a wallop, and because of the anti-vibe handle in it, it doesn't put it into your wrist. I have beat the daylights out of stuck loader pins with this, and not only has it held up great, but I'm telling you, the wrist fatigue off of this is so much better. It's even better than this, and this isn't that bad. So highly recommend. Pick up the cheaper version off of Amazon. Now, when it comes to pry bars, this Seda brand of mini pry bars work really good. They're affordable. You can buy them on Amazon or any number of places. And I found that these work really good. Now this is brand new. I actually bought these to give as a gift to someone, and I really like these. Now no, you're not going to get some massive 2-inch pin unstuck off of something with these. These are meant for smaller work, thus smaller handles. But to me, spending, you know, hundreds on a Snap-on or maybe Mac Tools, yeah, they're decent, but this will get the job done. More than likely, very handy to have. They do also make one with an adjustable handle. That is pretty handy as well. It pays to have something like that. Now, as far as BF pry bars, these guys are some of my favorite ones. And the great thing is these are actually all reasonably affordable. The middle one is a Mac Tools. It's pretty decent. I like it. They're a little bit pricey. Their handles are the best, in my opinion, out of a lot of them, because look how big it is. You can get 2 hands on it. A lot of them out there are kind of single hand only. I appreciate the longer handle. Now, if the Mac Tools is a little too pricey, This Master Force, which is available at a local Menards, is actually pretty good and they're very affordable. So that's a great option for you. Now, as far as a pretty affordable but surprisingly really good bar, I can't say enough good about this Husky that's available at Home Depot. I've had this for years, and honestly, for the price, I think it makes almost every other bar of its size out there irrelevant. I have beat the daylights out of this. I've pried stuff that I've no business doing. It is not broken, and it feels good in the hand. Very good option, and don't be ashamed to buy one of these. This is one of Husky's, aka Home Depot's, really good solid tools. You can't go wrong with this, so consider that. A couple random metalworking related tools that are very beneficial and also don't cost a ton. They won't break the bank. First thing is what's known as a mag tab. You can search on Amazon for these. These are very handy because you can take two pieces of metal and stick it on it and you have a 90-degree angle, or it can just work as a third hand where you can have it hold something to where you can weld it or manipulate it and work on it. Very handy, very affordable. Likewise, I really like these magnets that have the on-off switch, so you can disable the magnet even though you're not really disabling it. It's not an electromagnet, but these work great because guess what? When you weld, you pick up all this dust on it. When you turn it off, you can wipe it off, turn it back on, and you have a very strong magnet. Speaking of metal fabrication, something that's often overlooked that we could all benefit from is a welding respirator. Now, it really doesn't matter how much or how little welding you do. Something like this protects your lungs, and I wish that all of us that are fabricators wore these more, myself included. But this particular one is made by Lincoln Electric. There's tons of them out there. I really like this one, but as long as it's a P100, thus says right down here, it filters out all of the metal dust and fume that you would be exposed to and will protect your lungs and your nervous system from damage. So I highly recommend this for yourself, be it you buy it for yourself or if you buy it for a welder that's in your family or a metal fabricator, you get the idea. Make sure that you look at the sizes. Some of them are one size fits all. This one has 3 mass sizes. Try and get one that fits. If this does not fit properly, it does not work properly. Back to some useful tools. I have a punch and chisel set by Wildy or Wild, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, made in America. This is available at Menards. It's also available online, and there's tons of other brands of chisels like this that are good that are out there. I highly recommend this brand. They have treated me really good. I have a bunch of sets of these. This I'm actually bought as a gift to someone, so that's why I have it brand new in a package. But you can't go wrong with a legitimate punch and chisel set. This has a couple that will work for roll pins. It has some that'll just work for busting some stuff off that you need off or knocking BBs and spatter off of a weld. And it has tapered punches which work really good to hammer out stuck pins, center punches. You get the idea. These are affordable and again, very useful. I can't stress how important it is if you like fixing stuff to have a decent chisel set, a decent file set. You get the idea. You can't go wrong with this one, but at least get a decent brand. Don't buy them cheap green ones or absolute dirt cheap from Harbor Freight. They won't do you any good. They're too soft. Get something like this. You're definitely no stranger to a grinder if you're working with metal, and this one in particular is a Hercules available at Harbor Freight. I did a teardown video where we looked at how this was constructed, and it actually wasn't too bad. And if you can pick up one of these as a gift for yourself or for someone else and you're not paying full retail, I highly recommend this grinder. It is built very good, and if you can get it for around 60 bucks, 70 bucks maybe, in that ballpark, it's well worth it. Now, personally, I really like the DeWalt grinder that's similar to this. This is almost a knockoff of it. You can't go wrong with that. But having a decent, solid, reliable, powerful grinder is invaluable. And if you don't have one or you want to give someone a gift of one, definitely get one. It is worth it. Just spend the money. Buy once, cry once. Get a decent one. Like this guy has plenty of power, or the DeWalt or a Metabo, any of those. Very good tools to have. You need it. To go with this, and this is a little bit of an OSHA safety violation, so bear with me. If you're into TIG welding or polishing chisels, sharpening chisels, or that kind of stuff where you need like to be able to grind something very finely, you can't beat one of these diamond discs. What you do is you put it on this angle grinder, okay? And then now you can sharpen TIG tungsten to a very fine point for welding. I'm telling you this, and these things are cheap. I don't know, under 20 bucks. And I also use this to sharpen wood files, even chisels, any number of things, and it lasts forever. So get yourself a diamond disc for your angle grinder or even a diamond wheel for your bench grinder. Very handy thing to have. You won't regret it. Up next, a random assortment of tools that I highly recommend. First is a Knipex, I believe is how you pronounce it. They're pliers. These are often available at local stores, like the local Menards here started selling them, but you can buy them online. But these are everyday useful tools that are built stout. They're hard to break, they're very strong, and they just flat out work really good. This guy right here I've been using for, I don't know, a year and a half, and I don't know how I lived without it. They just work that good. Highly recommend. Pick up one or two of these. They're a little bit pricey, anywhere between $30 and $100, but I'm telling you, it's something, you know, focus on getting quality on the tools that you use every day and you need to rely on, and you can't go wrong with these. Now, this here is a Icon, so Harbor Freight needle nose pliers. This is a knockoff of a Snap-on pliers. I really like these. It's basically just a very beefy needle nose. They come in very handy for getting at stuff like hoses, hose clamps on cars, and any number of things. It pays to have a needle nose like this. And speaking of needle nose, you can't go wrong with the traditional vice grip that is a locking pliers. This one doesn't have the little lever on it that pops your hand real bad when you try and unlock it when you tighten it too much, but this is a very handy tool to have. You can't go wrong giving any of these as a gift to someone or buying for your own shop. You'll love them, I promise you that. On oddball things, a Bluetooth speaker, and I'm not one that really listens to music while I work, to be honest, but I gotta say, I've used this for the last year or so, made by Klein Tools, and this thing is genuinely pretty good. I hate to say that because it's like, well, it's just music or noise, but this thing's pretty cool. It charges via USB. It has volume control on it. Keep in mind, you have to use this with a phone, by the way. So I Bluetooth link it to my phone. I can change what song I'm listening to. I can change the volume. I can put it on microphone on here. The battery life of this is actually far better than I expected, and the audio quality of it is actually really good. Decent volume. No, if you work in a very loud shop, this isn't enough for you, but for like a quieter shop, this is pretty nice. I really have no regrets in buying this, and I didn't think I would say that. The cool thing is this has magnets on it, so you can, and they're very strong. I'm talking, I can barely pick it off of there, so very strong magnets, and you can also hang it off of here. I highly recommend this particular product, available on Amazon. You can't go wrong with that. I like it more than I should. More welding related stuff, getting someone who TIG welds, some TIG tungsten. You can always use more of this because I swear somehow half of them just disappear on you anyways. So having extra doesn't hurt. My personal favorite is the 3/32 diameter 2% lanthanated from Midwest Tungsten. It's what I use all the time. This is the 1/16 variety, which I don't commonly use, but the 332 is the way to go. So if you TIG weld, or you know someone that TIG welds, get them some more of these. You can't go wrong. Welding related, if you stick weld, you're gonna need a tube or a box of rods. You can't go wrong with more rods, because guess what? You're not gonna get good at welding, and you're not gonna make anything without stick welding rods if you stick weld. So highly recommend something like this. Personally, I think the Hobart rods are okay that are commonly available at your Tractor Supply store in a lot of places, so don't be afraid of those. And if you can afford to, buy a bigger package of them. This is a 10-pound tube. Buy a 50-pound, buy a 20-pound. Having more, you can't go wrong with it, but you got to use it to build something, and you got to use it to hone your skills. So again, keyword, you have to use them. Back to another hand tool. This I did a review on in a shootout video, and this is the Bremen, whatever, welding clamp available at Harbor Freight. And believe it or not, I determined that this is the same thing as the Milwaukee clamp, other than it has a different screw on it. This welding clamp, which is available for well under 15 bucks at every Harbor Freight in your area, is invaluable for general fabrication. Doesn't matter what you really do, you could use a couple of these, and it is a very good welding C-clamp. There is also a vice grip brand that I particularly like the most, and it's because it opens the widest out of any of them. Pick up one of those, or on a little bit more of a budget, buy this. You can't go wrong with it. Now, I covered a bunch of really affordable options that are great as gifts and great for yourself to have in your shop, because it makes a difference in your everyday work. And I've recommended a lot of that, but now we really need to look at something that, no matter how you shake it, is pretty damn expensive, and that is an actual welding machine. If you have a son, a daughter, a husband, a wife, a friend, whatever, that wants to get into welding and fabricating, one of the biggest expenses, well, it's the biggest single expense realistically, is an actual welding machine to do the welding. And that is unfortunately a simple case of you get what you pay for. If you buy a cheap Amazon special welder, as I call it, what you can do with them is rather limited, and the longevity of such thing as far as reliability and how long it lasts is going to be limited. And I understand, hey, we all have limited budgets, and we can't just go out and buy a $5,000, $6,000 TIG welder for someone who wants to learn, right? So that's why I'm going to give you some really solid advice here. My opinion is that if you're looking to get into welding or give the gift of welding to someone else and you don't know where to start, buy yourself an affordable flux core only machine, preferably the Titanium 125 from Harbor Freight. That is where I would start. All in with a welding hood, gloves, a spool of wire in the machine, you're under 250 bucks, and you can change your whole world around you with what you can weld with that. Now, granted, it's not an instantaneous, you can do everything that you would want to with it. It takes skill development, but that setup is so hard to beat, and it's under $250 for it, okay? Opens unbelievable doors. If you have a little bit more budget, or you're looking at upgrading equipment, or you want to start off with something better, I would highly recommend looking at a solid welder from companies like Miller, ESAB, Lincoln, even Hobart, which is lower end Miller. They're generally pretty good. Firepower, which is ESAB, and Everlast, a lot of their stuff is pretty good for welders. And the Vulcan line from Harbor Freight also is good. When you get into the higher level welders, like all of those, you just get a better quality machine. And the cool thing is that if you're ever broke and you need money, or you just don't think welding is for you, all of those machines, especially the Millers, the ESABs, the Lincolns, they all sell for far more money than the cheap Chinese specials. So you can recoup some of your investment back when you sell it if it's not for you, or if you want to upgrade, they're actually worth something. When you spend $100, $200, $300, $400 on some Amazon special, nobody's going to buy that from you. It doesn't work as good as the better brands, and you're just limiting yourself. So my opinion pretty simply is, if you're on a budget and you want a welder and you want one that works and isn't BS, look at the Titanium line from Harbor Freight. I recommend those because they're available all over North America, so everyone has a Harbor Freight close to them. They work good, they don't lie about specs, and they can weld really good. So they're more affordable. Look at one of those. If you have a little bit more of a budget, look at a name brand like I suggested. And if you don't have any budget at all and you want to do at least start learning, my recommendation would be to start with a cheap stick welder off of Amazon.com for 150 bucks. Or even better, the Titanium 225 from Harbor Freight. Excellent stick welder, and it's very affordable. So look at those for options. And I get it. It sucks. I wish I could, if I had the ability to give everyone that wants to learn TIG and stick this welder, I'd give everyone it, but I can't do that. And I get it, $1,000 for a machine sucks to buy it for someone or for yourself, but you got to look at it as an investment. You're investing in yourself or you're investing in someone else. And if they're serious about it, this higher end machine will open unbelievable doors for capability over something that's, $150 on Amazon. Speaking of limited budgets and making a difference in someone's life, I want to share a heartfelt story that has affected me in my life, and I think maybe it'll change your perspective on things. So I'm going to show you the most important tool that I own. So inside this drawer here is the most important tool that I own, and it's probably not what you suspect. It's this guy right here, and it's a hand drill for those of you who don't know what this is. And you're probably asking yourself, what on earth would this have to do with an important tool? And it's not the tool itself, it's the story behind it. When I was a young child, my father gave me this for Christmas along with a hand saw, like an old wood saw. And I'll put it bluntly, he didn't have a whole lot of money. He was hurting financially, and he wanted to do something for me so that I had some kind of ability to build something. And he himself was a carpenter and a mason and did a ton of work with his hands. And well, I took after him. But the reason I'm bringing this up is that by him giving me this tool and a hacksaw, which, by the way, the hacksaw, I went out back, sawed some wood, and cut my finger wide open because I didn't know what I was doing. But hey, that's how things used to be, right? You learn by trial by fire. But he gave me the best of what he could afford, and I used this for years to build stuff, even though it was crap that I built. But the inspiration and the push from him to use the little bit of what you have to make something better or to build something is what changed my life forever. And this is one of the few things I still own that he ever gave me. And every time I open this drawer, it's an inspiration to better myself, better my skills, and remember where I came from. And the reason I bring this up is because it really doesn't matter how much money you have or how expensive of a gift. The best gift you can ever give someone is to inspire them to do better for themselves, their community, their family. And that's something that there really is no price on. And for that, I'm thankful that my father gave me this. And I inspire you guys to look at what you can do to help people around you to better them in order so that they have a good life. And I've been very fortunate that my father was an excellent inspiration for me and pushed me to better myself, because that's why I am who I am today. So it's not what you spend, it's what you can do to help other people. So I think I covered a ton of great ideas for tools and things that you really need to have in your life to make your life easier and to make building stuff better. The last recommendation I'll have for you guys is a toolbox. And I personally really like the US General series. I find that for the quality that you get for the money, that there really isn't any other decent competitors to them out there other than maybe used boxes from Snap-on and Mac Tools and such. But I recently, as in 7 months ago, picked up their rolling cart over there, the multi-drawer cart, and I 100% recommend it. If you don't have a at least small toolbox like that, yeah, they're $500-600, and the main box of 54-inch there is like, I don't know, $800-900 depending on coupon. you need a place to put your tools. Like, I hate to tell you, it helps with organization, and it just makes you more efficient and less frustrating. So I 100% recommend, if you don't have one, pick up one of them US General rolling tool carts. They're awesome, and they will help keep you organized. With all of that said, if you have any personal recommendations on must-haves, feel free to leave them in the comments. And all you people that are looking for additional ideas, definitely read the comments, because people that deal with making stuff all the time and metalworking, I'm sure will have a lot of recommendations that I didn't even cover in here. With that said, thanks for sticking around, and hopefully some of the stuff I recommended will find its way into your shop and help you become better at what you do. Until next time.